1 month ago, at the peak of my bulk, I was like, okay, summer's coming up and I actually want to get lean this time, like beach lean. However, my old approach to cutting just wouldn't get me there quick enough. It was basically just the correct advice that everyone gives out. Lower the calories, don't cut carbs, and keep the fats low. Now, does this work? Yeah, sure. However, there is a way to essentially speed run this process and make it way easier, which is what we needed to do if we actually wanted to get lean in time. But what did we do? We went on keto. Now, I actually didn't realize how much this would offend people. Like, it's literally treated as a hate crime in the fitness industry. Even after showing people my own and my clients' insane results, they will still tell me that it's a bad idea and that it's not sustainable long term. By the way, the dude that told me this literally had man boobs. Yeah, the problem is most people don't actually have any idea of what keto entails and why it actually works. So keto in basic terms is just limiting your carbs to under 50 grams a day, which forces your body to use fats for fuel. Your liver then turns the fats into ketones, which it then uses to produce ATP. This is called ketosis. Usually your body uses carbs for ATP. However, your body generally prefers one or the other and never both, which leads me on to why keto is actually going to be a way smarter option when trying to lose fat. So a calorie deficit is the only thing that matters when trying to lose weight. However, it's remaining in that calorie deficit and still having the energy to train hard that's the tricky part. When lowering calories, most people will lower both their carbs and fats, more so fats. When doing this, your body still tries to use those carbs for fuel, but since you've dropped the calories, you really don't have that much carbs to use, and since you're still eating some, your body is not in ketosis, so it can't use the fat for fuel either. However, if you go on keto, you are removing almost all the carbs from your diet. This then leaves massive room on your calorie budget for healthy fats like avocados, beefs, nuts, eggs, and dairy. Your body then switches into ketosis and has more than enough fuel to use in the form of these fats. The second problem with the usual diet is that fats are essential for our hormone levels, which is why I think it's super dangerous, especially towards the end of a cut, to reduce your fats to next to none. Our body doesn't actually need carbs, however.
You need carbs!
Almost every bodily function can run just fine and even better off of fats. And the third problem is that when you're still eating small amounts of carbs, your body just craves more. See, your body is trying to run off carbs, but since a lot of your calorie budget is taken up by fat, you're left with fuck all carbs. Your body then signals to your brain that you need more. And I genuinely think this is why most people can't stick to that generic diet. And it's also why I think people can't comprehend how people on keto can go so long without carbs. It's because when you're not eating carbs and instead using fat for fuel, your body doesn't crave carbs. Okay, but wouldn't you just crave fats instead when you're on keto? Yeah, that's right, you do. But this doesn't really matter because you have so much room on your calorie budget that it would honestly be hard to put yourself into a calorie surplus, which is why you don't really need to track your macros when you're on keto. Okay, so what has keto actually done for us? Well, remember how I said I wanted to get shredded before summer? We actually got there way before it. We completely underestimated how quick we would get shredded. Within 2 weeks, we were noticeably leaner and holding way less water weight. And within 4 weeks, we were down about 10 pounds and have probably got down to about 12% body fat. But surprisingly, what we noticed most on this diet was the other benefits outside of weight loss. My resting heart rate went down, my energy levels got better, and my brain fog completely disappeared. Yeah, some people literally just get on keto for those benefits alone, just the mental benefits aside from weight loss. Okay, so this all sounds good, right? But you might be wondering, is it sustainable? Surely you have to eat carbs at some point. Well, not really. New research shows that prolonged keto diets are completely sustainable. And when I heard about this research, I did kind of just laugh because why do we need research to prove that what we've been eating for millions of years is sustainable? The only way you could say this diet isn't sustainable is the fact that almost everything on the shelves contains carbs. So eating out with friends can sometimes get difficult, but first let's get into what you actually need to do when you start a keto diet. And by the way, if this all sounds overwhelming and confusing, you can stop the video right now. Go on the link in the description. We've just opened a few spots for our one-on-one coaching where we set up a personalized plan that fits your lifestyle and food preferences and makes the process effortless for you. But if you feel like you've got it handled on your own, let's get into what you can and cannot eat. So essentially anything outside of meat, eggs, dairy, nuts, avocados, and oil all contain carbs. So rice, starchy vegetables, sugar, fruit, oats, and bread are all off the menu. And you might be thinking, how am I ever going to give up breads and sugar completely? But once again, like we said, you only crave carbs right now because your body is dependent on them. When you get on keto, the cravings will disappear, and it actually requires way less discipline than you might think. Yeah, this is pretty much why everything you see on the shelf is packaged carbs, because they're so inherently addictive and people constantly crave them, meaning they have to buy more. This is why almost everything is carbs. So we'll have a link to the free food guide in the description. And once you've got that, you can start deciding how you're gonna plan out your meals day to day. Because if you don't have a plan, then you are planning to fail. And I'm telling you now, every single time I've heard of someone failing a diet, it's because they never had a plan to start with, or the plan they had was just simply unsustainable. Every single meal, every single possibility, every single time you won't have access to amenities, times you'll be eating out, the times you'll be craving food, all need to be accounted for. And if you can structure a day so that your meals fit perfectly, are easy to prepare and eat, and also taste good, it's super simple to just prepare a week's worth of food on that Sunday and just stick to that. Because if every single meal is accounted for and made on that Sunday, then you don't ever need to think about what you're eating, and then losing the weight becomes automatic. And if you're in school or have a job, which I hope you are, this becomes even easier because your lunch times are already structured for the day. Now, in terms of if you need to track macros, this might actually go against what most people will tell you, but with keto, 99% of the time, just getting on the diet will put you into a deficit. Yeah, and I generally think this is why keto is the much better option to lose weight, because it's so much less confusing when you don't have to constantly track what you're eating, putting in every little fine detail about the tiny little snacks that you buy throughout the day. You just eat like a normal human being and lose weight. However, I do actually recommend that you track the first 7 days on the diet, just so you get like a mental note of what foods contain what amount of calories and fats and protein. In terms of the actual calories themselves, just get your body weight in pounds and multiply it by 12. This will give you a pretty good estimate of how many calories you need to eat in a day to lose weight quickly. And in terms of the actual macro split, you obviously want to hit 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. You want to be under 50 grams of carbs, and the rest can be backfilled with fats. Now, this might seem like a pretty aggressive deficit, and that's because it is. But it's actually way easier than barely losing weight over a long period of time, because most people that have cut know that the longer you cut, the harder it gets. So let's just make it short and sweet. Yeah, in our case, it literally took only 4 weeks to go from pretty sloppy to beach lean. And because this time period was so short, it required next to no discipline. And when people try to gas me up about my discipline, I usually respond with something like, no, I actually don't have that much discipline. I just make it easy for myself. All right, now that you've planned out what you're gonna eat for the day, let's go through what you might experience in the first few weeks of starting this diet, because there are actually some short-term side effects of starting keto that you might feel, but are completely normal. So the first thing is that you will feel fucking starving. Because your body takes a few days to switch into that fat-burning state, it's gonna want carbs. If you get through this phase, however, your cravings will disappear. The next one is actually called keto breath. This is actually due to the release of acetone, so you'll get really bad breath, really bad sweat. This is completely normal. It happened to me. It only lasts a few days, so just stock up on deodorants and chewing gum for the sake of you and people around you. The keto flu is actually also pretty common. This is just flu-like symptoms, which also lasts only a few days. I didn't experience this, but if you stock up on electrolytes, then you minimize the chance of this happening. You'll also be very thirsty as your body is shedding the water and the salts. So just make sure to drink a lot of water, minimum 4 liters a day, and stock up on salts. And then once you get through that first week, things will start to stabilize. The weight you'll lose from there will be mainly fat. You won't be as hungry, and you should see a pretty significant increase in your energy levels. Now, in terms of what you can expect within, let's say, 30 days, I'm gonna ask my good friend Roars what his experience was. So obviously I got you on the keto diet. What was your experience on keto? What were the main benefits that you took away from the diet?
The pros obviously start with acquiring a modeling contract, so that's one. Next one would be lack of brain fog. So another side effect is also just looking really good. So as you can see, I'm pretty fucking skinny. So you know, really just need to get that mass back again.
You look like shit, bro. Yeah,
thanks, bro.
You actually look so trash. Yeah. All right, thanks for your help, mate. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, all good.
Now, it does sound like I'm trying to sell you on keto because I have some sort of affiliation code with a keto brand or something, but I don't. In our field, we are literally incentivized to get people the best results. And a keto diet simply just does that. So this all sounds good on paper, but what happens when things actually start to get hard? Because although you won't have anywhere near the same amount of cravings that you would on a normal cutting diet, you will still in fact be hungry. But there are some good ways to curb this hunger though. So the first thing you want to do is essentially just try delay the first meal for as long as possible, because it essentially just shortens the window you have to eat, meaning you can't actually fit in enough food. Also, if you do get like a surge in hunger, just try to push through this, because you notice after that, your hunger will subside for a few hours. So if you get really hungry for breakfast, just try to push through that and then you can have lunch later. Also, hot drinks like black coffee can work really well. Also, try eat high satiety foods. These are usually high in protein, so things like chicken. Also things like low carb vegetables, but really try avoid nuts, because those things you can consume 1 million of those and they're really high in calories. In terms of cardio, don't try to use it as an excuse to eat extra meals, because it's always going to be easier to eat less calories than burn more calories. But in saying this, if you aren't doing 10,000 steps a day, try to do that, as that's essentially just gonna raise your calorie maintenance. Another big thing that people mess up is actually what they do after they get shredded, which is completely rebounding back, which is what 90% of people do. This is why I can't emphasize how important it is to have a plan and to have structure. And what's equally as important and almost no one talks about is having accountability. You need to have a positive environment around you that are keeping you accountable for what you're eating, not people that will call you weird for dieting and are actually wanting to do better for yourself. Also, before we end, notice we didn't even mention training at all in this video. That's because the training you're doing on a keto cutting diet is essentially the exact same as when you're bulking. And we also have plenty of videos on this channel going through training, so you can check those out if you really need it. But if you do have any questions about this diet, which most people do, you can simply drop them in the comments down below or join the Spartan Society, where we all talk about this kind of stuff in there. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. See you then, mate.